Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. Excellent. I think it worked. Yes, it worked. It worked. It worked. Excellent. All right. I wasn't certain.
Just 1 second.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't entirely certain. So that is good. What is going on with this? Why can't I? Oh, I see. I see. Guys, give me one moment. Trying to work out the kinks. This is not typically.
How are you doing?
So far, so good, actually. I can't complain. I've been watching Iran, as I would say, do God's work for the last few days. And there seems to be a creeping intensity with the strikes that are taking place. And I get the sense that Israel is going to run out of air defense before Iran runs out of missiles. The calculus just doesn't work, right? Give me a take on
Wow.
what's on the ground.
Wow.
Yes,
Have we started?
yes, we're started. We're live. Just to give you a heads up, we are live.
We're live. Okay, sorry about that.
No, you're perfectly fine.
Um,
What are your thoughts on this?
yeah, sure. What was the question? Well, they're bombing. The
Well,
Israelis, the Israeli regime is striking Iran. Fortunately, after a few days, over the last few days, they found many of their collaborators. It's basically been ordinary people all over the country helping the police and intelligence agencies. So a lot of these people have been arrested. Some of them are not Iranian, they're from other countries in the region, and some of them are Iranian. These people, they are paid to carry out these attacks, but we're seeing a rapid fall in the number of these drone attacks inside the country. So they use these tiny drones, and Iran is a huge country, so it's not surprising. But you see people in towns and villages themselves, in cities, mobilizing and to protect the armed forces, their bases, searching the grounds around bases for kilometers to see what they can find, who they can find. So in that sense, things are better. Iran's air defenses are doing well. First few hours, of course, Iran was surprised and there were many problems, and the Israeli regime obviously had planned many things beforehand. And of course, Iran strikes are becoming more unpredictable for the Israelis. Today they struck during the day and they used their newer missiles, and the Israelis couldn't detect them.
yeah.
So Trump, I think the reason why he's moving towards a very dangerous situation is because A, he's probably compromised,
That's
and B, because the Israeli regime is losing.
yeah.
The people, from my understanding, inside the regime, inside this entity, they're demoralized. They don't see a future, and we'll have to see. Everything depends on Trump. But if you've noticed, 3 tankers today were damaged near the Gulf of
I saw that.
near the Strait of Hormuz, and I think that will probably. I think that you will see more of that. And Trump's only success since his presidency has been the fact that oil prices have come down. And the easiest thing to do is to drive oil and gas prices through the roof. There's nothing that anyone can do about it. So no one wants that. No one in this region wants war, except for the Israelis and the Americans. But war has been forced upon us. And if the Americans American regime, if the Trump regime tries to force war upon us, then I think that all of the regimes in the Persian Gulf, Arab family dictatorships will be swept away. Oil exports will be non-existent, not just through the Strait of Hormuz, but from the entire West Asia and the Caucasus. Oil exports will come to an end. And I think that would mean the utter collapse of the global economy.
You know, I pointed out when I would talk to people, and they would say, "Well, the U.S. is not going to really do this, Iran, because these people are rational, and it would be horrible if they did that. The consequences would be unpredictable." And I would point out to them that Israel has acted with impunity the entire time. I mean, for God's sake, we watched genocide committed before our eyes. Once they took down Syria, from their point of view, we have an open target for Iran. And I said, they're going to run into a buzzsaw. And the Lord knows they ran into a buzzsaw. I agree with you that all of this talk for Donald Trump, this screaming at 2 a.m. that Tehran should empty itself, is desperation masquerading as strength. And I suspect a lot of that is because they full well understand that Israel is getting dismantled day after day after day. They just hit Mossad. Tehran just hit Mossad headquarters. Israel couldn't do anything about it. Tel Aviv have been getting hit every day without the ability to do anything about it. And they've had this media blackout all across Israel because of obvious reasons, the hits that they've been taking that they don't want to expose to the public. From your take, there's been reporting in the US media that I don't believe, but I'm going to ask you about it anyway, that says that Donald Trump is open for talks, which is seemingly hilarious to me, considering they used the last talk to lull Iran into this sense of security. And that if they don't do talks, that Trump believes that he has leverage for bombing raids into Tehran. Have you heard anything about this? I mean, they are effectively saying that the government of Iran wants to talk to the United States, which, again, I don't necessarily believe, but I do want to get your take on it. Under threat of bombing, that's the leverage that Donald Trump believes he has at his disposal. What are your thoughts on this?
No, it is Trump that wants to talk. He is basically begging to talk. And he is the one that is drawing us towards war. And have no doubt, Jamal, if there's a global economic collapse, the elites in Washington who are behind it, people will search for them. People in the United States will be seeking for them. Because when the law and the whole country shuts down, then I think people will be seeking those who, people on the streets, ordinary Americans, will be looking for these people. I don't think Trump's will be able to, I think Trump will be removed from power if this happens. Because the damage to the United States will be so extraordinary. To the world, it'll be a catastrophe, Jamal. I have no doubt. Iran does not want this. But a couple of things I wanted to point out. One is that I want to point out that the internet connection is very poor here.
You're fine.
And there's nothing I can do about it. I'm actually in the Press TV building doing this interview. The building is evacuated, and I'm the only one inside the building.
Don't tell me
I
that.
got permission to come back in. They keep trying to kick me out. But,
Don't tell me that.
I insist. But the internet is very slow, and I cannot do it from. Well, I've isolated myself from my family because they've asked me to give up my cell phone or to put aside my cell phone. But I just said this is the only way I can help. So I can only do media. So I'm using my cell phone. My cell phone's in front of me, and the internet's not good. But I just want to point out that we're not intimidated. Trump told 10 million, I don't know how many people in Tehran to leave the city. That's a grave act of terrorism. But I'm in Tehran and I'm actually in the Iranian building owned by Iranian TV. Iranians are not intimidated. We are on the right. We are on the right side of history. We are being attacked because of our support for the Palestinian people, because we refuse to compromise like uh, all of the rest of the regimes in this region, all of the other governments in the region. Uh, Turkey under Erdogan is doing business as usual.
Yes, he is.
All the other countries are cooperating with the Israeli regime as if nothing's happening, just making empty statements. But Yemen and Iran, as two countries, they're steadfast, and that's why they're strangled, that's why they're bombed, and that's why their people are being murdered. And the Israelis have done nothing sophisticated. A sudden attack on any country uh, is is something that even if the country has prepared itself, it's still going to have negative consequences. But
Yeah.
Iran has regrouped, and we now see that despite the sudden attack, and despite that the entire West is behind the Israeli regime, helping it in every way and form, and using radar installations and military bases across the Persian Gulf region, in countries like Qatar, the Emirates, Bahrain, in their bases in Turkey. They're using them both to help them offensively and defensively. The Americans, the British, the French, and they're using Jordan's airspace and Iraqi airspace to help the Israeli regime, and this may intensify in the days ahead.
Let
But
me.
despite all that, and despite the fact that Iran is alone, it is performing well, and I have no doubt that the Iranians are determined to defeat the Israeli regime, and any negotiations that may take place in future can only achieve results if Iran's rights are preserved and if it becomes clear to the regime that they've made a catastrophic mistake.
How could Iran even negotiate with either the Trump administration or the Israelis? I mean, from my point of
No,
view, no, go please.
The Iranians would never negotiate with the Israeli regime. Iran does not. It's an ethno-supremacist regime. It is like Rhodesia. It is like apartheid South Africa. You know that before the revolution, Iran, under the Shah, who was an agent of the West, sold 90% of South Africa, would sell 90% of South Africa's oil was produced by Iran. And but as soon as the revolution happened, not only was the oil trade cut off, but also relations were cut off. Ironically, Erdogan will do that. But and then Iran began to fund the ANC and other resistance organizations in southern Africa, not just South Africa, but southern Africa. And then Iran also broke off ties with the Israeli regime, began to support the Palestinians. Iran's sin, Jamal, is that it supports the Palestinian people. It is standing against it. This has nothing to do with the nuclear program. That's just an excuse. You saw, I think, hours ago that Trump said that when they said to him, Tulsi Gabbard said that Iran's not building a bomb. He said, well, I don't believe her or whatever.
Yeah.
He's just lying. He's just making. This is a morally bankrupt regime. The media is completely more bankrupt. Right now, Western media is busy demonizing Iran and Iranians in order to prepare the grounds for death and destruction. That's basically what it is. But they will fail because they will be hurt more than Iranians. When things collapse, all of these so-called elites, their lives will be changed overnight.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
And now you see that.
No, please.
You see the Israeli regime won't allow Israelis to leave the country.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw that.
Human shields. That's what it is, human shields. And the reporting came out that they didn't even want Americans to leave.
Using them as human shields. And they're using them as human shields, and they're also um, uh, putting their military equipment right in the middle of cities,
Yep.
in beside homes. Remember how they would justify bombing Gaza, saying that they're using people as human shields?
Yep.
Well,
Here we are.
what,
Here we are. How far is
what
Iran
about
going to?
Israel? Why doesn't anyone in the West say anything about that?
Well, see that honestly, if
You
I had any critique for Iran,
can you say that again?
well, I was going to say if I had any critique for Iran or even for Russia, it was this idea you would never going to get a good headline out of Western press. It doesn't matter what you do. You could be saints. Like you could be bathed in the light of God. And you would never get a good headline out of the West. And my thing was, why try? But I'm curious, how far is Iran going to go with this? And what I mean, let me explain my question. This is an opportunity. Many people see it as an opportunity to break the back of the Israeli government. Because if not, who do you negotiate with? Like you said, you can't negotiate with Israel. The US is dishonest. So where does this end?
Well, I'm not in government, and I
Accept that.
can't, say anything on behalf of the government. I never have been in government. Even when I was a media advisor, I wasn't speaking on behalf of anyone. That's why I insisted that I just be an advisor so that I could speak freely.
Mm-hmm.
But Iran is determined. Iran is absolutely determined. This nonsense that you may have heard over the last couple of days that the Iranians want to talk, that's nonsense. Iran will see this through. The regime, the Israeli regime, will have to come out of this regretting this whole criminal act. They will have to clearly figure out that this was catastrophic and Netanyahu brought about this catastrophe. And if the Americans get involved, we will have no option but to make sure that the United States is hurt, the regime is hurt in a way in which forces it to back down. And we can do that because we will, we will not let them get away with this. There's not a chance in the world that the Iranians will allow the Americans to start striking and not pay the price for their aggression and for murder and for the destruction of Iranian infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. Can we talk about Piers Morgan for a second? Piers Morgan has spent the last 2 years justifying genocide. Every day he acts as if he's not on camera doing it. When you get someone like you, someone like even Mehdi Hassan or like John Mearsheimer, you get to see how incompetent he really is. I mean, he sits there like the dumbest person on the planet, completely confused by simple concepts when people explain it to him. And he effectively is attacking you now. As you pointed out to him, you call him a coward, call him a genocide denier, which he is, and said you've welcomed him to come to see what he has been decrying for the last 2 years as he's been justifying Israelis' genocide. Give me your take on this. I saw the back and forth between you two. Give me your thoughts.
Well, I didn't watch the exchange online. I never watch my interviews. Well, rarely, unless I'm searching for something. And also, right now, the internet is so slow that I think probably my voice is very choppy because your voice is very choppy for me, and I'm sure that's not your connection, it's mine. Piers Morgan is just one of so many journalists and elites in the West. And of course, when I mean journalists, I'm not talking about people like you or all these other friends that we have in alternative media who have principle and dignity and honor. But people like yourselves would never be allowed to have a position like that at Piers Morgan or these other. And by the way, even if Piers Morgan came to Iran, don't think that he will change. He will see the truth and interpret it in his own, using his warped worldview
Yeah.
and in order to justify what he does. If he goes to Gaza, he will still say that Hamas is evil, and he will still speaking to the Israeli regime's diplomats and officials as if they are friends who he can sometimes be critical with. These people have no sense of morality. But the only reason I go on these shows is because I feel that I have a responsibility to try to make people recognize that this great evil that is happening, whether it's against Gaza or Palestine or Lebanon, Syria, or elsewhere, this great evil has to be understood. And so I don't care really if he insults me or if they humiliate me or if they take out clips and show uh, distort the reality of what happened during a debate or discussion, or if they unpopular.
Yeah.
Like yourself, like our other friends, I have a sense of responsibility. I'm not in this press TV building right now because I'm a hero. No, it's because this is what I have to do. This is my responsibility, and I have to do it. So would I rather not be sitting in this building? Yes, of course. I'd rather be sitting somewhere else. But what else can I do?
I had one last question.
Are dying.
Well, I don't want you to.
When people in Iran are being killed, this is what I have to do.
One last question, and thank you for letting me be a part of it. It's not much, but I do appreciate it. Is a condition to end the conflict between Iran and Israel, would it have anything to do with ending the war in the West Bank, against Gaza, against the occupied territories of Lebanon? And I know you're not part of the government, so I'm not asking this as if you know as a flat fact. I guess I'm asking this in the context of, as you point out, one of the reasons that they hate Iran, it's because it's the only bulwark against Israel in the region, which is obvious at this point. But two, because of the dedication to the Palestinian cause. And if Israel is militarily defeated, which it seems, if this keeps going, they will be militarily defeated, is a condition to stop the conflict. Will that be Gaza, West Bank, Lebanon? Or, and again, I know you don't know because you're not part of the government exactly, but give me a sense of it. You are there.
Sorry, the window. But in any case, I think I got more or less what you said, because it suddenly became very windy. And so I'll try to see if I got it right. Everything is linked to everything else. And obviously, the Israeli regime threat to the entire region. It always has been. It's a racist regime. It's an expansionist regime. It has no red lines. You see how it carries out the Holocaust. The West supports the Holocaust. They have no red lines. So that makes it a threat to each individual. That makes it a threat to each by nature. Whether you have Palestine or Lebanon or Syria or Egypt or not, it is still a threat to you, because that's the nature of this regime.
Right.
It's like a vicious wolf that's on the loose. So it has to deal with that. On the other hand, Iran is principled. Iran will not forsake the Palestinian people. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And there's no reason why it should happen. Here in the West, people often tell me that how many people in this region have been taught to hate Iran by sectarian media funded by Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the Emirates, or racist media in Turkey. The head of a TRT gave a speech when he said we're going to set up a Persian language TV channel to teach Iran a lesson. They're all in the American camp, and they try to turn the people in the region against Iran, just like Western media does. And so often they say, why do you support the Palestinian people when so many people in this region are against you or hate you? And the reason is that that's our responsibility, because they're human beings, they're victims. Our religious culture, especially the fact that, our religious culture in particular among Iranians makes us sensitive about the oppressed, the dispossessed. And we cannot forsake them. If you read the story of the grandson of the Prophet, Hussein ibn Ali, our third Imam, and his sister Zainab in Karbala, then you will understand a great deal about why Iran is so steadfast in its support for the people of Palestine. Why Iran is so steadfast against Western imperialism and Western domination and threats and punishment that comes from the West. So we have a responsibility, and we cannot therefore, in any negotiation, in any potential negotiation down the road, 1 month from now, 2 months, whenever it happens, and it will be on our terms, God willing, we will not forsake the Palestinian people. That I can say for sure. Or the Lebanese people, or anyone else.
Professor, thank you for this. I deeply appreciate you doing this. I did not know you were going to. Thank you for this. Professor,
thank you, Jamal. Thank you for the excellent work you do. And I just want to remind your audience that the genocide in Gaza continues.
Continues, yep.
Genocide continues as we speak. There was a major massacre hours ago. Let's not allow the West to make us forget about the starvation and the extermination that is ongoing in Gaza.
So true. Professor Mohammed Marandi, he's professor of English literature and Orientalism at the University of Tehran. Thank you for this. Please be safe. Please be safe.
Thank you, Jamal.
You have a good one. All right.
You too.